The Velthari ambassador did not raise his voice. Panic would not make the universe kinder. His holographic image trembled above the obsidian table of the galactic Concord chamber, distorted by static and distant explosions. Behind him, a once-living city burned in layers, upper spires collapsing first, streets fracturing next, and finally the sky itself glowing as debris from orbit fell like meteors. To any authority receiving this transmission, he said, mandibles tightening as he fought to keep his tone steady, this is Ambassador Theskal of the Velthari Collective. We are under active extermination by the Dravik Dominion. No one interrupted him. Representatives from over 100 species sat in silence, their forms as varied as the stars they came from. Thin-limbed Keshri folded their fragile wings inward. The aquatic Leven hovered in their water harnesses, bioluminescence dimmed to anxious pulses. Even the stone-skinned Gore elders remained unnaturally still. They all recognized Dravik's signatures. Another tremor rocked the feed. Theskal staggered, but did not fall. Our outer colonies are gone, he continued. Our defense fleet has been destroyed. Civilian evacuation routes are compromised. His gaze flicked sideways, listening to something unheard, then returned to the camera. This is not conquest. This is eradication. A sharp crack split the sound channel. Somewhere behind him, something massive collapsed. Dust washed over the lens, briefly obscuring the image. In the chamber, a delegate finally spoke. This violates Concord law, murmured Counselor Virith of the Selathai, his voice brittle. Total planetary suppression is forbidden. Law does not concern predators, replied another, softer voice. Only opportunity. Theskal heard none of it. He leaned closer to the recording device, lowering his voice as if the Dravik themselves might overhear him across light years. We have complied with every treaty. We have paid every demanded tribute. We offered surrender. His mandibles trembled now despite his effort. They declined. A shadow passed over the ruined skyline behind him. The outline of a Dravik warship blotted out the stars, its hull bristling with weapons designed for intimidation as much as destruction. Please, Theskal said, abandoning formality at last. We request immediate military assistance. The feed cut. The chamber lights brightened automatically, revealing faces tight with unease. No one spoke for several long seconds. Intervention would provoke escalation, said Counselor Iresh, his voice careful. The Dravik have made examples of those who interfere. And what example do we make by watching? Snapped a junior envoy, her tendrils flaring before she could restrain them. The Concord exists to preserve stability, Virith replied. Not to ignite wars we cannot finish. Murmurs spread. Calculations followed. Fleet strengths were cited. Casualty projections flickered across personal displays. No one argued that the Velthari deserved their fate, but sympathy did not outweigh fear. They are asking us to die with them, someone said quietly. A Velthari observer seated at the rear of the chamber rose unsteadily. His voice was small, but it carried. Then tell us, he asked, what is the purpose of this council if it cannot act when extinction is broadcast live? Silence answered him. At last, a single name appeared on the central display, highlighted in warning amber. Humanity. Origin world. Earth. Classification. Class. 12 Death World. Several delegates stiffened. No, said Virith immediately. Absolutely not. They are unstable, another added. Excessively violent. They wage wars even among themselves, said a third. Imagine turning them loose on the Dravik. The Velthari observer swallowed. Imagine not. The chamber descended into overlapping objections. Historical records surfaced, human conflicts, human weapons, human refusal to submit to external authority. The word unpredictable appeared more than once. Yet beneath the fear lay something else. A quiet, unspoken truth. Humans fought because they survived worlds that demanded it. They are not members of the Concord, Virith pressed. They are not bound by our limitations. Exactly, the Velthari replied, voice steady now. Neither are the Dravik. The argument stalled. Not because consensus was reached, but because no better option remained. The The motion passed by the narrowest margin in Concord history. A single, encrypted distress packet was prepared. No demands. No expectations. Just coordinates, evidence, and one carefully phrased sentence. We request aid. As the signal was launched into the void, several delegates looked away, as if ashamed. The Velthari observer did not. He watched until the icon vanished beyond sensor range. May whatever gods watch over Deathworlds be listening, he whispered. Far away, beyond Concord space, the message crossed into soul-controlled territory. It was received without ceremony. In Earth orbit, alarms did not blare. No emergency lights flashed. The transmission appeared on a tactical console amid routine reports and fleet diagnostics. Commander Elias Rourke stood with his hands clasped behind his back, reviewing readiness data. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his posture relaxed in the way of someone accustomed to gravity heavier than most species could tolerate. Sir, an officer said, turning from the console. Incoming priority transmission. Non-Concord origin. Rourke nodded once. Put it through. The Velthari ambassador's final moments filled the screen. The room fell silent as cities burned, and a calm voice asked for help. When the feed ended, no one spoke. Rourke broke the silence. Did they formally request assistance? He asked. Yes, sir, the officer replied. Clear and unambiguous. Rourke's jaw tightened, not in anger, but resolve. Then acknowledge receipt, he said. Begin fleet mobilization protocols. The officer hesitated. Sir, Concord authorization. Rourke turned, his eyes steady. They didn't call the Concord. He looked back at the darkened screen where a civilization had pleaded for survival. They called us. Earth did not react the way the Velthari might have expected. There was no shouting in the command center. No frantic scramble. No stunned silence stretching into paralysis. The transmission had ended, and life aboard Terran Orbital Command continued, measured, deliberate, heavy with purpose. Commander Elias Rourke stood before the panoramic viewport, Earth turning slowly beneath his feet. Blue oceans. White cloud bands. A world that looked peaceful only because it had already survived everything that tried to kill it. Behind him, officers waited. Confirm threat classification, Rourke said. Dravik Dominion, replied Tactical Officer Hayes. Multiple capital ships, confirmed civilian targeting, planetary sterilization in progress. Time frame. Velthari Prime projected to fall within 46 standard hours. Rourke exhaled slowly. Not relief. Calculation. Casualty projections? He asked. Hayes hesitated. Total, sir. If no intervention occurs. Rourke turned from the viewport. Then intervention occurs. The room did not erupt into debate. It never did. Terran command doctrine had been shaped by centuries of hard lessons, and the most important one was simple. Hesitation killed more people than bullets. Activate Directive Black Harbor, Rourke ordered. A pause, brief, respectful. Sir, said Executive Officer Lin, that protocol authorizes full-spectrum deployment beyond human space. Yes, Rourke replied. It does. Lin nodded once and relayed the command. Across Earth orbit, readiness lights shifted from amber to green. Dry docks unlocked. Crews already aboard ships moved without urgency because urgency had been trained out of them long ago. Panic was for those who had not planned. A secure channel opened on the central hollow. Fleet captains appeared one by one, their faces scarred, lined, or unreadable behind augmented optics. Veterans all. Rourke did not waste words. You've seen the transmission, he said. The Velthari Collective has requested assistance against the Dravik Dominion. This is not a political action. This is a rescue operation. One captain leaned forward. Rules of engagement, sir? Rourke met his gaze. Initial contact will include a withdrawal demand. If ignored, we neutralize Dravik military capability and system. Neutralize how? Another asked. Completely. No one flinched. Lin brought up fleet schematics. We're looking at a three-pronged task force. Vanguard battleships, carrier support, medical and evacuation units embedded. Civilian priority? Hayes asked. Always, Rourke said. We secure escape corridors before we fire anything that risks collateral damage. A younger officer spoke up, careful but curious. Sir, the Concorde hasn't authorized this. Rourke's expression did not change. The Concorde also didn't answer the call. Silence followed, not disagreement, but understanding. Humanity's relationship with galactic law had always been strained. Earth had joined late, after surviving itself, and it had never mistaken regulation for morality. Treaties mattered. Lives mattered more. ETA to Valkyrie space? Rourke asked. 30 hours, best burn. Make it 28. Hayes raised an eyebrow. That'll stress the drives. Rourke allowed himself a thin smile. They're rated for worse. Orders rippled outward. Ships detached from stations like predators leaving shelter, hulls scarred from previous wars, systems humming with restrained violence. This was not a parade fleet. These were machines built by a species that had learned early how fragile survival was. In a quieter chamber adjoining the bridge, Rourke reviewed the Dravik dossier alone. Predatory physiology, hierarchical brutality, psychological warfare as standard doctrine. They conquered not for territory, but for dominance, a mirror of what humanity might have become if Earth had been kinder. Lynn entered carrying a data slate. Sir, we're receiving inquiries from Concorde observers. They're concerned. Rourke did not look up. They're welcome to watch. Some are requesting restraint. Rourke finally raised his eyes. We are being restrained. Lynn hesitated, then asked the question many were thinking. If the Dravik refused to withdraw? Rourke closed the dossier. Then we remove their ability to make that choice again. Lynn studied him. That sounds permanent. It is. There was no malice in his voice. No satisfaction. Only certainty. The fleet launched in waves. Earth shrank behind them, growing distant and small, but its gravity lingered in every reinforced bone, every dense muscle fiber, every reflex sharpened by a world that punished weakness. As ships slid into faster-than-light corridors, a broadcast echoed across the task force. Rourke's voice, calm and clear. You are not being sent to conquer, he said. You are being sent to end a threat. We will offer mercy once. If it is rejected, we proceed with overwhelming force. A pause. Remember why we fight, he added. Not because we enjoy it, but because someone asked us to stop it. On the bridge of the flagship TDS Resolute, a junior sensor officer watched alien space bloom across the displays. Sir, she said quietly, the Valkyrie are transmitting again. Internal chatter. They don't think we'll arrive in time. Rourke stepped forward, resting a hand on the console. Open a channel. The officer hesitated. They didn't address us directly. They will, Rourke said. The channel opened. A Valkyrie civilian appeared, tired, shaking, clutching a child to their chest. The background was a shelter lit by failing emergency lights. The civilian stared at the unfamiliar human face, eyes wide. We were told you might be monsters. Rourke knelt slightly, so his face aligned with the camera. His voice softened, not weakened, but human. We're not, he said. But the things attacking you are. The transmission cut as alarms flared aboard the Valkyrie shelter. Rourke straightened. Helm, he said, take us to maximum safe velocity. Aye, sir. Stars stretched into lines. Space folded. Far ahead, a predator empire prepared to demonstrate fear. It did not yet understand what it had just invited. ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check important info.